First off, really funny movie. I found it very, very entertaining. So the burning question for you both is, how much cannabis was actually infused on set? For performance reasons.
Hmm. I don't think
Um,
any.
yeah, I don't, yeah, I don't think any. I feel like we talked one time, like Deena, the director, we are like, do we want to do one scene where it's real? And
Hmm.
maybe there is one scene that it's real. I feel like if it'll get people to watch the movie just as a little like, detective quest,
Hmm.
there might be one scene where it's real, but I'm not going to let you know.
Hmm.
All right, good stuff. So let's talk about, you guys have a lot of success in doing these great ensemble comedies, right? So over the breadth of both of your careers, you've kind of seen what's been a hit and what's been successful. So, when you get this pitch from Dina, what made you think like, all right, this looks great, this script looks good, I like this director. What about Nuke appealed to you both?
I really loved like how all different the characters were, and everybody had a different relationship with the person they were bringing, a different relationship to Jack and Jill, and just like the potential for so much comedy to happen when these colorful, crazy characters are hit with these very extraordinarily high circumstances, and the stakes get blown up out of proportion. So I just thought the ensemble nature of it was just like very primed for very, very funny, amazing comedic moments. And that was exciting to me.
Yeah, similar for me.
Justin, what about you?
Yeah, I love a high concept comedy, and we Dina initially sent this to me during the pandemic. So yeah, I mean, just everyone was thinking about the end of the world, and there wasn't a lot of comedy, and it was tough to be funny and to think funny, and and just understanding what we were all going through, especially, not just thinking about death all the time, but also just like relationships, how everyone's relationships were changing and morphing, and either ending or starting, or just, I had friends that were opening their relationships. It felt like a massive shift in how we were living together, and it was the perfect kind of like vehicle to explore that in a funny way. Um, yeah, so and we when we finally got to shoot it with all of these great actors, it was just a blast.
So I believe this is Dina's first feature film after doing like a bunch of TV stuff and like web episodes and so on. And so she's got this large ensemble. Obviously, everyone's been around for a while in the ensemble. How much time did you guys have to shoot and practice those scenes? Because especially when you're like all getting high around the table, that seems so natural. So was there any improv there? How much prep was in those group scenes?
I mean, it was definitely like a very short shoot, right? Like it was like 18 days or something like
Yeah,
that.
something like that. Yeah.
So there wasn't a lot of time for rehearsal, especially of the group scenes. Like Justin and I, like we got to go have some time with Dina and also by ourselves to really like work on our relationship and craft this couple. But the group scenes, I don't think we really got to rehearse that much. It was just like she was super collaborative and very open. So like we did get to improv a lot, and she would leave the camera rolling, and she'd be like, I like that, do that more, or like keep going with that. So it was a really fun, playful set, to be totally honest. Like I couldn't wait to get my little side episodes with like Steven Guarino, and even when Natasha Leggero came out and she was just like improving, she's so good as the chef. It was really like, let's just shoot it. Let's just shoot it and see what happens. In with the script as our base, but we got to play obviously off of that.
So let's grind down to your characters, Jack and Jill, because there's a lot of meat on the bone here. Because even though this is really about comedy, this leads to something that I have an issue with in general in life, right? So you've got this couple, they're together for 20 years, so they've been together for almost half their life. But because Jill is a social media star and documenting every part of her life and so on and so forth, they're keeping secrets from each other that probably wouldn't have been kept if there wasn't fame and fortune involved. Would you agree that's a primary driving theme?
It's definitely part of it for sure. I mean, I think that, I think a lot, it's how these people deal with change. and I think that, they've been together for a long time, and they also, even though they've been together for a long time, they maybe have not been completely honest with each other, and not completely honest with themselves. So I think what this kind of nuclear bomb forcing them into the basement conceit does is that it forces them to look at each other and also to kind of look at themselves and how maybe they need to change or accept change or to be honest with their partners and what they want in their lives.
I also think, especially as a woman, you grow up thinking that you might want one thing, and then as your life takes a different path, as success is coming to Jill, it's okay to change your mind also. Just because in the beginning, maybe, we talked about having a family and like that's what the plan was, it's okay for that plan to shift. So I think that in that way, like Jill didn't know she was going to love being a podcaster as much as she didn't know she was going to be as successful. She didn't know how much joy she was going to be getting out of it. And that's okay. And I think she just needs to be open and honest with her partner as she starts to shift, because I think in marriages you have to you have to allow your partner to change also. And I think that the movie touches on that in a really heartfelt way.
So the comedy is really great. I mean, I laughed myself into the ground, but I thought one of the best scenes was when Jack finds out, what Jill has been up to as far as the whole pregnancy scheme, and kind of like the curtain falls and he sees what's really been going on. And there's a lot of drama in that scene, but there's also a lot of sweetness as well, because you can tell that this couple does love each other, and he senses like a lot of betrayal, but he kind of understands where she's coming from. So talk about filming that. How much time did you have to rehearse and so on?
Yeah, I mean that, it's funny that kind of linchpin to their relationship. It didn't come about. Came out, came late in the development of the script. It wasn't something that was originally in there, and it's really it's kind of the nuke within their relationship, right? And it goes back to talking about honesty and how, for some reason, from my experience and from experience of like what I see with my friends and from other people, sometimes it can be scarier just to be honest with ourselves and with our loved ones. And it could even be scarier than like a nuclear bomb. That's kind of what the movie's saying, where it's like, just having an honest conversation can sometimes be the hardest possible thing. And people will get divorced and people will, lie and do whatever they can just to avoid being honest. And I think a lot of the comedy in this movie comes from how ridiculous that is. It really is the stupidest thing that we all do it. For some reason, as human beings, we just can't be real sometimes because it's scary. That change is scary, or the loss is scary. So certainly the big bad in this movie is when Jack kind of finds out that his wife of 20 years has been lying to him about what she wants, and then it's the discovery of why that lie happened.
So one of the things that I always ask in these interviews is, especially when you have like a really funny, engaging comedy like you guys have done, is that for the audience, the filming process is a little bit abstract. Like 18 days hustling to grind out, take after take after take, on a budget is sometimes not really understood by the audience. So I always ask the filmmakers and actors, what was the best and worst day for you both filming Nuked?
Oh my gosh.
Anna, what do you think? Anna's like, the best day is when we ended it.
Well, I remember that, we had that like rehearsal day, you and I.
I was gonna say that was the
But
worst.
I think it's the best and the worst.
Yeah.
Like, we had a big breakthrough, but we got into it a little bit, Justin and I. But because we know each other, we go back. Like, I didn't feel like I was just like, yeah, like, let's do this. Like, let's get into it. But I felt like we became a married couple.
Yeah.
Like in
sure.
that moment. And it really informed the rest of the shoot. And we like cared about each other so much after that. And we like took care of each other. But it took that breakthrough You know what I'm talking
I
about?
know exactly what you're, of course I know what you're talking about, Anna.
Okay.
Um, no, I mean, it also goes along with, what you're saying, Julian, about the independent film of it all. It's like you have to, like, even though Anna and we worked together a long time ago, we know each other, and I love her dearly and respect her dearly. It's like when you get to set and you're like, okay, I got a few days to figure this out.
Mhm.
It does feel like you're like, I really got to pack as much in to get the backstory, to get who this couple is. Because when you're playing a married couple, it's three characters. You have your character, Anna has her character, and then everyone has a couple that what is their marriage? How is
Mhm.
their marriage existing? It's like a character on its own, the way that people say locations are characters. So I think you have to hustle and be like, okay, like we have to figure that out and quick.
Mhm.
And thankfully, it was the worst because sometimes it can get a little rocky where you're just like, how do we figure this out quick? And
Yeah.
then it's the best also because like, oh, we actually happened upon something.
Yeah. It was a great
So
breakthrough.
I'm sorry, all the characters are pretty entertaining, but I love Lucy Punch. I mean, she's one
Oh,
of my favorite actresses. I enjoy interviewing her.
I
And
agree.
so, just real quick, can you tell me a little anecdote about her? What was she like on set?
So good. She's so funny. She's so prepared and present. And just takes the character that's on the page and like twists it and elevates it and turns it into something far more delightful. Like I just thought she nailed every scene and every moment. So I felt very lucky that I got to work with her.
Yeah, same here. She's just dialed in. And that character is also so important. And it wasn't, on the page, this really is just a bunch of relation couples trying to figure out their shit in a weird time. But she naturally understood that she also had to become the villain in a way. Um, and the way that she happened upon that, and she's just so funny, was elevated the movie to a crazy level that we're so grateful for.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So Taylor's giving me the wrap notice. So let me sneak one more question in for Anna. So the audience is asking you this question because Scream 7 is, obviously blowing up and they're ready for it. I know you probably can't say much about it, but they're bringing back Neff Campbell, Kevin Williamson is there. What can you say about filming that? Is there anything that really surprised you about joining that cast?
I mean, I wish I could say everything I want to. I cannot say anything besides I think that everyone is going to really love it because it's going back to the original story, the original format, and Kevin Williamson, who's like the story mastermind behind the entire Scream franchise, he's directing it and he knows the story so well. I think that people are just going to have a very good time and they're going to be very scared.
Awesome. Thank you both. I enjoyed your film. Cheers.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Julian.